Good morning, Young Kings. Another morning, got 7 miles in, just over 7 miles this morning. So, got a word for you. Um, First of all, I think I'm gonna switch it up. I was talking with a friend, Cliff, so shout out to Cliff. He said instead of calling it morning motivation, I should call it Morton motivation. So, we're gonna institute that. We're gonna change it to Morton motivation because there may be times where it doesn't come in the morning. It may come in the evening. But, anyways, into your message for today is that you'll win if you don't quit. You know, quitting is the easy thing to do. You know, and for me, quitting is the hardest thing to do. Like, I'm allergic to it. I don't like it. Matter of fact, I can't even spell quit. And I understand the principles behind spelling, and that U is supposed to come after Q. But I had to invert it. I had to put the I before the U. Because there's a lot of people that's dependent on I, and that's including you. There's a lot of people that may be wishing on my downfall of I, and that may even be you too. So putting the I first has allowed me to focus on self-love and taking care of self. You know, kind of like, get some on my face, kind of like when you're on a plane and they're giving you your safety briefing, and they tells you in the event of an emergency, the mask will fall from the ceiling. Make sure you put on your mask first before you try to assist someone else. And that's why I had to reverse the I and put it before you, because if I don't take care of myself, then I won't be any good to you. So, got a few stories today about quitting. Those who know has been following me. I just took charge of a battalion at the schoolhouse, and part of the schoolhouse is officer candidate school. So where people are desiring to become officers, and got called in because there were some individuals that there were two individuals that I spoke to. I mean, it was more than that I spoke to that day, but I'm going to highlight two that I spoke to. And one was at the finish line, meaning that he had been in this program for over a year, and he'd been working and grinding, and he failed to meet one of the requirements. And they gave him a test, and he failed that too. And so the instructors came to me, and they wanted to recommend him for dismissal. And so I wanted to talk to the soldier, and I wanted to talk to his leadership, and I wanted to talk to his peers, because I wanted the 360 view of everyone and what they thought about the soldier. And this soldier in particular was a smart guy. I mean, bright. I mean, at times people may think he comes off as arrogant, but he lacked on some of his tactics. And talking with the soldier, and he didn't want to quit. He was like, I know you got a job to do, and it may, but I can make it. I can stay with this. I can make it if you give me another chance. And talking to him his story, the guy's going for his PhD, so he's working and going to school and really grinding, and really, I guess, time is at a premium. But you know, during COVID, I think he probably has some more time, so I'm not making an excuse for him, the fact that he's going for his degree and stuff of that nature. But his attitude was like, he had this confidence, like he didn't want to quit. You can disenroll him, but he wasn't going to volunteer to quit, you know. So long story short, I spoke to some of his peers as well, and his peers was like, he just doesn't get it. You know, he's struggling. I don't think he has what it takes to be an officer. And you know, I think that, you know, he could do a little bit more studying on his own that would prepare him a little further for success. And I don't think he has what it takes. So at that time, you know, since they were experts on what it took to be an officer, I had to move the chairs out of my office because they were getting a little comfortable talking to me, and I put them down in the front leading rest position and had them explain to me what it took to be an officer and why they were placed in such a harsh judgment. And long story short, smoked them. They left out of there sweating. But the thing about it is that they were casting this guy out, and in their explanation of them casting him out, they said, look, we had this self-study group. They said, sir, we had this self-studies group. We came there and we were working with him, and he was trying to get it, and he did a little better during the self-study group than he did during um, the actual execution of it. And I said, well, you just contradicted yourself. You told me he wasn't self-studying, so I can see if you said you had a study group and he didn't show up, and he still failed, but you telling me he showed up and he did better, that means he was actually trying and he was actually coming out to you for help. So what is it? Is he not participating outside, or is he just not getting it? And I gave him the saying, when people try to judge people, there's a saying out there that says, "A silly fish, you can't fly. A stupid bird, you don't know how to swim." And the point behind that is that sometimes people are in the wrong environment. They try to be universal. And then I spoke with the leadership, and they were like, "Hey, he doesn't have it. We should disenroll him." And I had to override, because I wanted to give him another chance. I wanted to give him a chance to execute that drive he had in him, that thought he could make it. And I think that's why God's kind of placed me in this position, is to be able to see that in people's eyes and see that they want it. So going against the leadership, and I didn't want to undermine them, because I have them in place to make those decisions, but really I'm responsible for it. So I call the soldier back in, and then I tell him, I say, you know what, I listened to all the peers, and I'm not going to give you another chance. I says, you will be disenrolled from this program. And I had him leave the room. And I know I just said I was going to give him another chance, but I didn't want the soldier to know that I had overruled his leadership. So I called the leadership back in, and I told him, I says, look, that soldier thinks that he's being disenrolled, and you're going to go tell him that you convinced me to give him another chance. And the reason I did that is because I didn't want the soldier to think that he had a favor from the battalion commander, that he was just automatically going to make it. I wanted him to know that he still had to meet the standard, and that it was his leadership that was going to make sure that he met the standard. It wasn't lowering the standard for him. So that's one of the individuals. Now, the other individual's at the beginning. He's at the starting line. And he started off with a rough start, meaning that he failed the fitness test, the run. That run will get you. That's why I run every day now, because I know if I don't run, it'll come back running for me, meaning that it's a use or lose thing. If you can't go months and months without running and then show up for a fitness test and try to run, that's why I'm out here in the morning grinding, to try to stay fit, because you never know when you'll be tested. But this is a young individual at the beginning of, smart guy, but the exact opposite of the guy. I heard quit in his voice when he spoke to me. I heard excuses. He didn't want to be there. He had just made up in his mind that it was going to be too hard. So I'm sitting there talking to this individual, and he's telling me all these things that's going on in his life. And he was going to wanted to try it out, and he realized that he don't have enough time to commit to it. So I asked him, I said, when did you stop being hungry? He said, what do you mean? He said, when you stop being hungry. I mean, you got a goal, you're pursuing it, and you obviously had to be hungry enough to come try it out. So when did you desire? Was it adversity that made you stop being hungry? So he started speaking and said, hey, sir, I just graduated college, I have my degree, I'm working, and then I'm also trying to be an entrepreneur. So I got a lot going on, in my life. Right now I got a family, and start making excuses. And excuses are plentiful if you're looking for them. So he kept going. I said, you know what? I realized when you stop being hungry, and why you're not hungry no more, is because you're full of shit. You don't want this. You want to give up. You want to quit. And I said, right now you got that syllabus effect. He has a degree. I said, you show up to the first day of class, and you look at that syllabus, and you look at all the requirements, and then you start aligning it against yourself, and you start questioning if you have what it takes, how much energy and effort it's going to take, and then you have to wonder, do I have what it takes to make it? So that's the most intimidating part about college, is that first day when they tell you, But I said, if you just look at the overall syllabus, it can be overwhelming. But if you keep reading and you keep listening to that instructor, they're going to break it down week by week. They're going to say this assignment is due week 3, this assignment is due week 7, this assignment capstone is due week 12, whatever. And that's the same way you got to do it. You got to break it down piece by piece, moment by moment, assignment by assignment. Don't quit because the adversity is coming. Don't quit now. It's time to grind. It's time to get in there and make sure that you do what it takes. And I don't know if I reached that soldier. I mean, the quit in him was so strong. I mean, it was so prevalent. I think he's gonna quit on me. But I told him, I said, you're not quitting on me. I hadn't made it in my mind. I'm not a quitter. And I remember talking to my daughters at a young age. I told them Mortons don't quit. And I don't know where I came up with that saying, but it sounded good. And no one told me that, but I said Mortons don't quit. And I told them, I said, the only thing you're allowed to quit is something you weren't supposed to begin in the first place. But if you start something, you're supposed to finish it. So it's hard not quitting. I mean, it's challenging not quitting. At times I want to quit. At times I try to convince myself to quit. But I keep going. And there's been people that tell me, man, I don't know how you do it. If it was you, but if I were you, man, I would have quit a long time ago. But just like quit, I can't spell it. I ain't you, and you ain't I. So you can't quit. You got to stay with it. I remember we were training for Afghanistan, and my first sergeant, I love a guy, First Sergeant Weathers, I'm name dropping, love him and his wife, amazing individuals. But when I got there to the unit in Detroit, we were training, and I remember we were training hard. I was pushing people extremely hard. I mean, if you've been around me and you work for me, we're going to work hard. I expect it. So he approached me. He's like, hey, sir, I think you're working too hard. You're going to burn people out. You're going to burn out. You're going to burn people out before we even deploy. And I looked at him. I said, sir, that's the first sergeant. I said, I'm training people for war, not to take them to Disney World. I mean, we got a mission to do. We got something to do. So I say that story not as an indictment on him, because it's his job to take care of troops and to kind of keep me in line and keep me checked. But at the same time, I had to understand the importance. I wanted him to understand the importance of what we were doing. And it wasn't time to take a break, because they said sweat during peacetime prevents blood during war. And we deployed to Afghanistan, and we brought everyone back. We had one soldier to get a Purple Heart because he got some fragments from one of the rocket attacks, but great individual, and was able to recover and bounce back. And I'll tell you the story about this individual because he was enlisted. He wanted to become a warrant officer. And all through Afghanistan, I called him Chief. He said, why you call me Chief? I said, because you got a dream. You're going to make it happen. And to this day, he came back and he's a chief. He's a warrant officer. Just a little believing in people. So in far as burning out, my flame's still going. I'm still burning. It's been over a decade later, and I'm still burning. And the thing about it is that adversity just poured a gallon of gasoline on my fire. And my grind just threw a log on. We're going to burn this motherfucker down. Excuse my language, but we're going to burn it. I had to replace roof with Drew. Drew is on fire. We don't need no water. Let this motherfucker burn. Burn. Adversity can't break me. It's only going to build me. This is the house that adversity built. Meaning that I don't quit. I won't quit. I don't know how to quit. And last story, just over 15 minutes. I remember and all this stuff runs through my head when I'm running. So, I mean, you're a beneficiary of this. So if you're still listening to this video right now, message me, DM me, and I'm going to Cash App you $25. If you're still on this, the first person that messaged me and still listening to this, I'm going to Cash App you $25. So inbox me your message that you listen to this, and then I'll tell you if you're the first person or not, and send me your Cash App and I'll send you $25. But last story. So I took over coaching my daughter's soccer team, my twin soccer team. I think there was like U6, no, it might have been U7, a little older, U8. But when I took over, this was a defeated team. I mean that they went a winless season. They didn't win a game. So when I took over the team, you know, the attitudes, the parents showed up sometimes, they didn't show up sometimes, but I knew me, that we was gonna work. And they called me militant, you know, say, hey, our kids are not in the Army, you pushing them too hard and this and that. And the first thing I did was I removed the parents from the sideline. I said, there's only one coach. There's only one person over here that's going to be giving them direction. I don't need them in the game, running to you, looking for validation, or you telling them to do this and it's against what I'm doing. So I moved them off my sidelines. And yeah, they was a little better, but they didn't have no choice. So the second thing I did, I started practice where we were training for the second half, meaning that we ran. I mean, we got to practice and we just ran, because I knew when it came game time, we was already short and there were going to be some kids that didn't show up. So I wanted my team to be the best condition. The skill set, there's teams that we're playing against that have been playing soccer a long time. They've been to camps. So I knew we didn't have a chance at that point in time and stage in their careers to match them with skill. But I knew if we can outwork them, we'll win. So I used to train them for the second half of the game. I mean, we'd run and run and run and run. I mean, them kids slept good after practice. You know, they used to dread coming to practice because I had to work them, because I knew that one of the teammates wasn't going to show up and they still needed to go out there. And there's been times that we were playing when it was U8, then we had 8 people on the field. There's been time we've been playing with 7. And sometimes we played with 6 until people got there. We didn't forfeit. And we went from a defeated team to an undefeated season by winning the second half. I mean, if we were down on a point in the second half, and there's a girls team, so there were girls rotating out, and my girls was just out there running, and they never quit. I wouldn't let them quit. I remember a time during practice, my daughter, she tried to quit on me. She was like, Dad, I quit. I said, this ain't Dad, this is Coach, and you gonna play. So we went through practice, and then since she decided to quit, we decided to have a practice after practice with just me and her. And we ran and ran and ran and ran. I mean, our mom and her sister had to come and get me off her, like, hey, she had enough. She had enough. But still had to get her quit. Wouldn't let her quit. I told her Morton Stone quit. So how did I get them from a defeated state to being undefeated? By working hard and not quitting. We used to practice extremely hard, but sometimes it's about perspective. You know, at the end of practice, and I knew I ran them hard. I knew they were tired. I was tired from running with them. And I knew they didn't have any more energy in them if I were to keep on that same line of motivation. So at the end of practice, I switched it up. We started playing tag for $1. So the way we play tag is that me and my assistant coaches, we used to tell the kids to start running. And if we don't catch them, the last person we get the tag gets $1. And believe me, at that age, kids were motivated by the $1. So I told my coaches, run after them, but don't catch them. Run after. So we'd be running from them, and they'll start sprinting, running real fast. And then when we act like they get away, like we were just tired. But they didn't know it wasn't our intentions to catch them. We just wanted the extra set of conditioning before they got home, and it worked by changing the motivation. So long story short, don't quit. You'll win if you don't quit. Keep grinding. and you'll make it, and you'll win. So, and I'm not going to quit either. So, against popular belief, against mistakes, against everything, I don't quit. I won't quit. Happy anniversary, Laura. Happy 25th anniversary. Y'all make it a great day.